Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to You've Championed Yourself. Who are you? I am Chris Ferguson, your host. It has been a dream of mine to showcase people who have taken their dreams, ideas, and thoughts and turned it into reality. As they reached beyond their personal struggles, pains, traumas, so many people give up and lose hope and stop and don't go further. There are those who can walk through their obstacles and challenges, not knowing where it's going to take them, but they know to trust themselves enough not to give up, to do the follow through in their personal life, their career, and in relationships. Those are what I call champions who have championed themselves. Today, my guest is Bobbie Gray. She's an amazing channeler. She's an amazing individual. Um, I actually have known her for a while, and she's just been one of those guests. I was like, I got to have her on my podcast. So let me introduce Bobbie Gray, Bobbie G.
Bobbie G.
Bobbie G. Hey, Bobbie, how are you, sweetheart?
I'm doing fine, darling. So delightful to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Um, you are a channeler, but what was it? How did you become a channeler of Gregory?
This is really a fun story because I was not into metaphysics before I met Gregory. I was working as a massage therapist. I had worked in corporate for quite a while, and I had switched to being a massage therapist. And I met this lovely man, Roger, who you have him to thank for a lot of this because he encourages me all the time and keeps telling me, God, you're good. And I keep saying, really? But when I first started, he took me to this weird place where these people were having a psychic workshop. And there was these strange people there reading cards and doing readings. And I was doing my little chair massage at the time. And a friend of Roger's called Terry came over and she wanted to read, she wanted to channel spirit for me. And I thought, I don't want to be rude. Okay. So I went over and this woman started channeling this information. I don't remember what she said, but the hair on my arms was standing up because it was like, how does she know this? How does she know this? It really intrigued me. So I went to her for a couple of private readings after that. And I think by the second reading, she had introduced me to Gregory the first time. By the second reading, Gregory was telling me I could do this. And then he's had me to sit down because I already meditated in the morning from my massage business and just start writing, just scribbling. And I don't know how long I had notebooks full of just scribbling where beautiful things came out of the scribbles. And eventually the scribbles started to be words. And then the words started to come so fast, I had to audio. And within 6 months, I was audio recording Gregory's message. But the secret was that I got up every morning at 5:30 and I did my meditation and I did my scribbles. And I started each one with, Gregory, what do you have to tell me today? And that's how it all started 30 some odd years ago. Okay. And from there, I unfortunately threw out 100 tapes that I made when I started out because I thought, what do I need the old tapes for? I can channel Gregory anytime now. I wish I had those now to see what it was like when I started. But I did that consistently for probably close to 10 years where I channeled, wrote, did the things I needed to do to be involved. I did some of my own personal therapy work to clear out garbage from my own life that I needed to clear away so that I could be a better channel. Because I noticed some channels would be channeling, you get the information, and then something just didn't feel quite right. And their own stuff came through. And there's a saying, you can only help people as much as you've helped yourself.
Yes.
And so I did my own therapy work because I was also a therapist and I couldn't help clients until I did my own work. And then I got back into the work with Gregory. And I think it was about 10 years after that, Gregory said, it's time. You need to start working with people. And that was very scary. That was very challenging because for me to do it and then read it to Roger and have him say, my God, this is wonderful stuff, Bobbie. You need to write a book on this, Bobbie. This is really great stuff, Bobbie. You need to share this, Bobbie. And I go, oh, yeah. But to actually start asking people to come to me for a reading was very challenging. It was very challenging. And I did that. I don't remember the sequence after that. Somewhere along the line, a person lent me some money. I started doing classes. I wrote a book, The Gregory Chronicles, The Choice. And it just took off from there. I think that's kind of how the sequence goes. Does that make sense?
It does. I have to tell on myself here. I know Bobbie outside of this arena. And I actually purchased your book, Channeling Gregory. And I was listening to your blogcast radio.
Blog Talk Radio, yeah.
And that was Blog Talk Radio. And by reading the book and in my own journey, I thought, it is all about what's going in. And I knew that, but I wasn't practicing that, so to speak. And so I said, if I'm really going to want to be of service to people, because I've been in law enforcement for 40 years. And I've worked many different positions. I started out as a dispatcher, went to a correctional officer in a men's prison, went to corporate security in law enforcement down in South Florida, worked with gangs on the streets in Miami-Dade and Broward County, worked with teenagers at an alternative high school. And we had almost 3,000 students, and everybody was not anybody. So it was really crazy. But in all of that I did, I was putting 100% out there for everybody else. And I wasn't practicing my self-care.
Yes.
And so that was a big message that Gregory kept putting out that kept resonating with me in your book. And just on the Blog Talk radio show that I had heard that day, it was like, oh my gosh, it was that aha moment that you get. And I've never had the ability to say thank you, but I knew to say, I actually loved your book. I think I told you that on the radio when I got on there, but I didn't realize how much of an aha moment I was going to have after that. So from that day forward has created these moments, these seeds that I've been able to put into place to be where I am at now. So I'm eternally grateful. And
well, thank you.
And I thank the people that I saw as a mentor, even though they didn't know they were mentoring me. It was the way that they affected my life. I considered that person a mentor. Yes. And so I call you a mentor in my life. So the fact is that it's been so exciting. And now it's like come full circle with having you on my podcast. I'm like,
I love it. I love to watch people grow. That's the thing I get the most out of. Part of the reason I didn't mention that the Blog Talk radio show, how that happened was really fun because Spirit, when they have an idea of what's going to happen, Spirit doesn't do it to you. They work with you. But I have a thing on my wall of what I thought was supposed to be a 1-year plan, but it's really been like a 20-year plan of how to develop the Gregory into different pieces. And one of the pieces was to get out into public, and I didn't know how to do that. So a friend of mine, we were at a Center for Spiritual Living. What are those things where they
retreat?
No, it wasn't a retreat where they're selling stuff. You're bidding on it. I'm forgetting the name right now. Auction. There we go. And they were auctioning somebody to help you set up a website. And at that time, I was in poverty thinking. That's one of the biggest challenges I've had in my life is to get past the poverty thinking that I can't afford it. I've realized now that when I say I can't afford it, it means I'm afraid of it.
Yes.
It's not that I can't, it's I'm choosing not to. And so I couldn't afford it, but my friend Peggy said, I'll go halves with you. And I went, okay, I can afford that. I couldn't pass that one up. Well, it turns out he was going to do a website for her and a website for me, but she wasn't really ready to have a website. So I got the whole website.
Oh, wow.
The way that worked, though, is one of the things we had on there was somehow or other it got into Blog Talk Radio. I met somebody at a wedding, and she was on Blog Talk Radio, and in the wedding went out and got her computer and showed me about Blog Talk Radio. I'm going, what's all this about? And then I asked this guy who was doing my website. He says, well, let's get you on it. Well, I would have probably taken years to get past my fear of being on the radio. And he got me on it, set up that day. He said, you're on. And I went, this is Bobbie G, and I'm here to do readings. Does anybody want one? And there's nobody there. Well, normally people will take 2 to 3 months to get somebody to come onto their Blog Talk. On my initial practice session, this guy comes on and says, can I have a reading? And I did one. And that was the beginning of Blog Talk Radio, which lasted for 10 years. The highest number I had on one show was 1,000. By the time I ended, it was down to about 400 or 500 because a lot more people came on. But I had a solid at least 300 to 400. It was a community of people who knew each other. Right. And that's what I love, because with the community, they would call in and I could watch people grow from the messages Gregory gave them. Right. That feels better to me than going on some of the current things with YouTube and Facebook. For me, there's so many people, I don't get to know them. And I, Bobbie, like getting to have the interaction, the connection, the support that I give. That's why I say on my website, I do life coaching and readings, because it's the support to help people grow into what they want to be. It's just fun, Chris. It's just fun. And hearing you share what it did for you, that fills my heart. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But no, usually, and I find this a lot of times, people don't allow other people, or they feel they feel too vulnerable to be able to speak up and say, thank you for helping me. This made a difference in my life. Because then they have to admit they had an issue. Well, I have no problem when I say I don't know anything about something. I don't know. I want to learn. I'm that life learner, and I want to learn more. And so that has been the progression for me. But as over the years, have you found that nowadays it's becoming easier to be a channeler? It's easier to be more accepting, I think is the word I'm looking for, because there was a lot of stigma.
Yes.
With the industry in the day, because there was those frauds, those people that pretended, and there was a lot of people that were taken advantage of. And it's more helping people now than it was before.
Yes, I think there's more acceptance. Well, look at how I responded 30 years ago to be around all these strange people who are doing this weird stuff. And I run with that crowd so much that I run into some people in the conservative town I live in, and they are not into that. And I forget that there are people who still think it's strange, but it's much more accepted. You've got a lot more on TV. You've got Von Prague. You've got these the medium in Long Island Medium. You've got John Edwards. You've got Gaia TV, which has reams of stuff. So you've got a lot more. And even on Netflix, I'm watching a program now called The Life Beyond or something like that. So it's just much more accepted. But what's more important is the more I accept it, the more I grow into it, the easier it is for me to do it. And the easier it is when somebody has a consideration. I don't have a problem with that. Their consideration is their issue, not mine. When they doubt it, I don't need their agreement. I really don't need their agreement. There's 9 billion people on this planet. We're not all going to agree with each other. And it's okay with me if you don't agree with me. I ask that you allow me to be me, but I'm going to be me anyway.
Well, the thing is it's also, I guess now it's more the labeling and the cancel culture. Everybody can have an opinion. Just because you don't agree doesn't mean you can cancel my existence.
Yes.
And so that has been the biggest thing for me. I'm lucky that in this time and in this day and age that I'm being able to catch up with technology. I'm very non-techie. I'm grateful that my husband was in technology and he keeps my computer idiot proof. I'm honest. I don't
Oh,
mind.
what
I
a
don't mind to
blessing.
say I don't mind to say that because it's true. I'd rather people because then they go, if they meet me in person, well, give me this, give me that. I'm like, let me get my techie person.
Yeah. 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 I wish I had that because that really is important. And because of technology, we can reach a lot more people. I mean, when I was on Blog Talk, I loved that I'm sitting here in my jammies and I'm talking to somebody in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
And now with YouTube, I have to at least look presentable, but I could still talk to people around the world. We
Mm-hmm.
can reach a lot more people. And that allows people who maybe can't get out of the house, maybe do live in a small town, maybe don't have the ability. When people say, well, I can't do that because of where I live, that's not an issue anymore.
It's less of an issue. I mean,
Yes.
I actually, I'm on YouTube, and this video will be posted on YouTube when we post
Hmm.
it after we edit it. And I've seen Christian women
Hmm.
tarot readings.
Yes. There's
I,
a school in our town called it's a Christian College of Supernatural Sciences.
yes. So I love that the minds are opening even in the religion, organized
Right.
religion spectrum, because
Right.
for a long time it wasn't.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
live in the Bible Belt in Tennessee.
Hmm.
And so the thing is with the Baptists, it's not so much going on. They still have this fear, but I have people that will say, "Can I get a message me? Can I get a one-on-one with you? I'll pay you for it, whatever." I just can't let anybody know.
Hmm.
And at that point, when I interview them or when I talk to them, I always find out that their fear of their religion finding out that they reached
Yes.
out.
Yes. Yes. That still exists. And I live in a very conservative, fundamentalist town. And I forget that sometimes because I've surrounded myself, thanks to Gregory, with people who are open minded and into metaphysics. And it's still really important to realize there are people seeking, they're seeking answers. They're seeking answers beyond what was. Gregory has said that we are going through a phenomenally huge shift in our world. He says it's the next millennia. It's the beginning of the next millennia shift where we're opening to new possibilities, where we need to learn how to cooperate and work with one another.
Right.
And what we're doing, what we're called the light workers, we're helping spirit help humanity help itself in this transition.
And I've gotten real big in astrology and watching
Hmm.
it. I interviewed a guy, Daquan Jones, and he does the Veridic astrology. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
ever heard of it. It's very different in the ways that they do it, but I found him on YouTube. I interviewed him and I was just amazed with him.
Hmm.
But right now we just got out of the we're just in not any, but we're just going into summer equinox on the 20th. Tomorrow is the full moon. So
Hmm.
you have all these energies going through. And I do know that we have one more set of eclipses coming in November and December, and it starts the age of Aquarius. Pluto and Saturn are in the same orbit, and they haven't been in thousands of years.
Hmm.
And that they're going to be in alignment for the next 10 years. That's going to take us into a 10-year span of the age of Aquarius. And
Hmm.
that is all about humanity. It is
Yeah.
about love and light. It is about, and so these shifts that we're going through, and people are not understanding a lot of things because the shift is so dynamically different than what we've thought of before.
Well, and people are getting confused because of the conflict. They're getting confused because they see the other side of the upset. Those who want the world to remain the same are as powerfully as we're moving this way, they're trying to pull back this way. And if you can look at that change as a positive, look at the fact that there is this rebound because things are changing so fast, and realize that all of that's kind of necessary for the balance to happen, for people to be able to move together.
Mhm.
And what Gregory invites me to do when I start to get discouraged about, oh my God, look at what's happening. He'll say, look at the other side.
Mhm.
Look at the reason it's happening. Look at the positive. You can find terrible stuff in your world or beautiful stuff. It all coexists and it's all necessary, because as we're willing to just charge off and change and they're wanting to stay back, we all work to pull each other forward
Yes.
in this
Yes.
movement.
Yes.
Because no matter what the ones that want to stay the same do, life doesn't stay the same, baby. It just doesn't. You might as well grab hold and get used to it and do your best to adjust to it, because a blade of grass doesn't stay a blade of grass.
Mhm.
Just doesn't happen.
But change is inevitable, whether it's subtle or whether it's dramatic.
Put my water too far
Oh no,
away. Sorry.
you're fine. Fine. But change is change, and it is embracing change. But I'm not saying you have to throw caution to the wind and just do anything.
No.
I'm not for the violence. I'm not
Yeah.
for injustices. I'm not for people hurting and dying. I'm not for any of that. But what I'm saying is that I believe that as these changes come, if we just allow and breathe,
Yes.
then
Yes.
it's not so traumatic to our system. And we don't go under the stresses. We don't go under all the things that the thoughts that we have that
Mm-hmm.
tear our body down.
Yes.
And that's how people get sick.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
it's about the mindset. It's about saying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to trust my creator, my God, whatever you call it, to make the right thing happen.
Yes.
But
Yes.
unfortunately, we have a lot of people in this country, more so, it doesn't matter what political side of the
Right.
aisle you are, who don't trust the government
Mm-hmm.
because of all the things and promises they made and never kept. And this has been
And
going forever, but it's really pronounced right now.
but the good side that I see in that is we're paying attention.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We're starting to pay attention and starting to question. And Gregory has always commented, if you live in the question, you'll find more answers. And the quality of the answers you find is determined by the quality of the questions you ask. So we're in a real questioning time right now. And it may be uncomfortable. I kind of wish I could go back to just plain old comfortable, knowing exactly what's going to happen sometimes. But that hasn't been my life. So why should it be the life of the country?
Well, and I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But with all the things going on, the amount of people that you helped, I just want to say on behalf of them to my audience is thank you, because
Thank you.
you've only been in my awareness for like the last, 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Yeah, that
But I
feels right.
think about all the people that were before me that you were able to help, that you were able to be in touch, because that kept you going so that you could come into my awareness. And I'm not greedy, I'm grateful, because
Yeah.
a lot of people give up. I find that when people hit hard times in their lives, they just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the challenges that happens is people make a mistake and they stop because they've made a mistake, or they're afraid they're going to make a mistake and they stop because they're afraid of mistakes. And a mistake is only information. That's all it is. The rocket gets from the earth by going off course correcting, off course correcting, off course correcting, off course correcting until it makes it to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way we do our lives. And when we pull inside and don't do anything, guess what? We're still learning a lesson. You're
Mm-hmm.
just learning a different lesson than maybe the one you want to learn. If you embrace the mistake and say, okay, what did this show me? What can I do with this? Then you have a chance to move forward. It's that fear that people get immobilized with. And the only way through it that I know when I get into that phase is, like you said, breathing. When I go up to this day, when I go up to do a public presentation, my Bobbie brain gets going and saying, will Gregory show up this time? I mean, he's only done it for 30 years. I don't know if he's going to make it. Will I say something stupid? Is somebody going to challenge me? My brain starts going. And what I have to tell myself is, you know what? They can't fire me. I'm just doing this. It'll happen the way it'll happen. What they take away is Gregory says, take what you like and leave the rest. That's the ending of it. And trust the flow and let the good times roll. It's the real ending. Right. But it's on that person. And then I just kind of have to laugh at myself for 30 years later, as many presentations as I've done, 10 years on Blog Talk Radio, teaching classes here in our home. And still I have that little fear stuff from my little kid when if I stand up in front of the class and they make fun of me, what's going to happen?
Right.
Have to let it go. Well, no, I choose to let it go. I don't have to.
Right.
And some of my best teachers are friends and family who have chosen to pull into themselves. And I look at them and I love them, but I also thank them for the message they give me when I get scared. That's what it'll look like if I let it stop me.
Right. Right. Exactly. I don't know if you know, but in 2012, I had 2 pulmonary embolisms, one in each lung.
Wow. Oh my goodness. No, I didn't.
And survived. Most people don't survive one.
Mm-hmm. You weren't done yet.
Well, at 4, I had a near-death experience.
Mm-hmm.
At 15, I had a near-death experience. I'm a cancer survivor. I've had a head-on car collision, and I've had 2 pulmonary embolisms. And I keep saying to my creator, hey, I don't have 9 lives here. I don't have 9 lives. If we're going to get to this, let's just get to it and let's just move forward and let's just do all of this. Allow me to be that vessel. And that's where I came up with this podcast so that people, ordinary people, can talk about how they've gone from what they were and where they were and why they created the things they did, why they wrote the books that they did, why they've done the things in their lives, because it was divinely guided. No matter what happened, it was divinely guided. No matter how hard life could have been, it was divinely guided.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I'm just this kid in the candy store now and just want to talk to everybody about what they went through in their lives. And a lot of people, and I'm so honored that you are so vulnerable and talking about mistakes. A lot of people feel uncomfortable being vulnerable to say, oh, I made a mistake. Well,
yes,
I guarantee you, Richard Branson, who owns 400 companies, has made plenty of mistakes and probably has failed at many or several, but it didn't stop him because he saw it as a way of changing things and doing it a different way. It was just a research. He calls it research. I've been researching. I'm trying to get Richard on my show.
All right.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, the creator said, reach for the stars. So
reach for the stars. We have a gorgeous bridge in this town that was built by a world-renowned builder in this podunk little town. Well, 100,000, but that's podunk little in today's world, because the person who reached out to the builder, I forget his name, but we have the Harp Bridge, because Sundial Bridge, excuse me, because they didn't let everybody else's considerations get in their way. And the other thing is, you probably have heard this, but Edison, they asked him what it was like to fail at the light bulb 1,000 times. And he said, I didn't fail. That was 1,000 attempts at what I needed to do next. And
I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you know somebody tried to say that they were the ones that actually created the light bulb, and it went to court and the other person couldn't prove it? It came out, there was witnesses that said, no, this guy came to here where Edison had put his plans, wanted to pay me money so he could copy his plans to try to steal it from Edison. And most people don't know that backstory.
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on in inventions.
Yeah. So
another thing I wanted to say is that when people see me channel, and when people see me on shows like this, or when they hear me on Blog Talk, they think, well, yeah, Bobbie can do that, but I can't. What they don't know is that basically I'm an extroverted introvert
Mm-hmm.
which means basically I'm a shy person. Kids in high school thought I was a snob because I was so shy I didn't talk to anybody. But I was also in 3 singing groups because I love to sing. So they would see me caroling through the halls with the choir and think I was an extrovert, but on my own, I'm shy. The pandemic hasn't been a problem for me. I've been able to, whoops, sorry, I had that on trying to reach
You're
you.
fine. You're fine.
Um, whoops, and I have to decline it here too. Okay, so when I was younger, I was shy, and with the pandemic, I could pull into myself, and I don't have to go out and be in public. But when I'm out in public, there's an energy that happens with people that I've learned to utilize over the years. I've learned to utilize the energy of the people coming to see me. And I have an advantage that when the Gregory comes in, it wasn't always this way. When I first started doing it, it was more Bobbie than Gregory. I could hear Gregory over here, but he didn't actually come into my body as much. But over the years, through meditation and practice, now I'm somewhere, out in the ethers. I don't know where I am. And Gregory is speaking me. And the reason I know that is that when I open my eyes, because I do a lot of my channeling eyes closed, I kind of have to go like that and go, hold it. I close my eyes and come back into my body. So when you look at what you're seeing here and think, well, she can do it, but I can't. If I had seen me 40, 50 years ago, I wouldn't have ever believed I'd be here doing this either. If I had thought I had to do this 30 years ago when I started, I probably wouldn't have continued because I would have convinced myself it was impossible. What you need to remember about growth and growing is that it's a step-by-step process. You take a step, you find out if it feels good. Sometimes it's scary, but you take another. Sometimes you go, nope, that one isn't for me, and you choose a different path. But you keep moving forward a little at a time. And when we judge ourselves by somebody who looks way more competent, I mean, I can look at Oprah Winfrey and say, well, I certainly couldn't do that. Well, yeah, I couldn't do it now, but if I wanted to, based on the progress I've made over the last 30 years, I probably could learn to do what she does, but I can't do it tomorrow. Right. I'd have to get there. That's the one thing I would like to pass along that I've learned in my 30 years of doing this is when I decided to leave my job at the welfare department and go become a massage therapist, even though that was not a financially intelligent thing to do, and then get into doing guide work, and then get into counseling, and then get into readings. Each step taught me something. Each mistake I made along the way taught me something. And I'm not going to say it was easy. There were some times where food, clothing, and shelter were at risk, but I didn't die. And I found a way by having faith and by learning to listen, by meditating. Now, yeah, I do practice. I meditate every day at noon. For a while there, I was doing the Deepak Chopra Oprah meditations 3 times a day. So there's just a lot of practice that you do. And if you can't do it as much as I do it, because I'm a bit of I like to follow a path. Yeah, I'm methodical. But it doesn't mean you can't choose to do 5 minutes a day. You can't choose to try. Yeah, walking meditations. There's so many things you can do. Meditation is key. Even if it's yoga meditation or walking meditation or talking or singing meditation or art meditation, whatever it is, it's getting in that flow outside the logical brain into that spiritual essence where the juice of life is. That's really important. The other day I got up, and I hadn't done this in a while, and I got out my little scribble book, I call it. And it's a journal where I just write. And I hadn't done it for a time, and it was just amazing the stuff that came through. It had been a year since I'd done that book, but it still gave me great stuff. And recently I've moved. I still do channeling and I still do Gregory stuff, and I'll do more once the country is opened up again. Um, but I've started writing. I've become a writer. I'm working on my second novel.
Awesome. I
And
love
it's a
that.
novel, interestingly, when you called me about this, about 6 women who are in the process of transition, the youngest 33, the oldest 80. And
Wow.
they're all in the process of growing. They want to be more. They want more in their life. They want to experience more, but they don't know what the more is. So they develop a group called A Gaggle of Girls.
I
And
love it.
that's the name of the book. And so here you are talking about showing people, and this book is about that. How do you grow past where you were into what you want to be?
Mhm.
So I'm excited I don't know what the book is going to do itself because I read the book as I write it.
Right. I get that too. I do the same.
Yeah.
I since we talked, my book is now an international bestseller.
Oh, wow.
It's number one in 3 categories.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been amazing. And I wrote back in the day. I used to write poetry as a kid. That was my venting. That was my
Mm-hmm.
way with dealing with injustices and in my life. And then I started write. I wrote all the way up until probably 25, and then life
Mm-hmm.
got complicated and many things happened. There just wasn't time, so it kind of fell off. And then I wrote a poem, and it says "Cops are people too," and I didn't realize that
Mm-hmm.
how important that poem that I wrote in the 1980s would be so
Yes.
prevalent to today, is because most people they don't, it's craziness with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope they realize that cops are humans. They're people. They have families. They have
And the
children.
majority of them are wonderful people, not what the news is
You
reporting.
know what? There's bad in every profession.
Oh my God, yes.
I'm not even going to excuse any of
Mm-mm.
it. But the fact of the matter is it doesn't mean that you can go out and be bad too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with that, I put out my intentions this year in 2021 is whatever was done in the dark, let it come to light. Let's see it. Let's get beyond it. Let's pass it through.
Yes.
Let's learn the lessons of what not to do and go forward.
Yes. Yes.
So that is my prayer for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, and I know you've talked about this a lot, is about the steps that you take in your life. They don't define you until you choose it.
Say
And
more about that.
okay, because the thing is we have many options in life that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the messages, the way I interpreted from you, was
Mm-hmm.
that we have choice, but we have many opportunities. So until we choose, that ends up defining what we do to ourselves. It doesn't
Yes.
label us. It doesn't say that that's who we are. It's just our choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people can see people that can make bad decisions and change their lives and become something, it's that unconditional love for that person. You may not want to marry them, have them in your home, or become part of your life, but you send them unconditional love for the work that they're doing on themselves to become a good person, or
You
to
know,
become it's not a life sentence. It's not a life sentence.
and this is so important. I wish people could really embrace what you just said, Chris, because we look at our politicians and we look at people in the public and we find out something they've done in the past, and we take everything that they are or what have become, and that all of a sudden doesn't matter. Now, there's some things you got to be held accountable for. I'm not saying that.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I agree.
But if if I have not always done the best thing in my life, I've made mistakes. I've had problems. I've had issues. I've had things I've had to grow through. When I look back at my life's like in these 5 or 6 different segments. And if you were to look at me when I was 20, you wouldn't believe who I am at 70.
Hmm.
And part of what happened when I was 20 and the choices I was making when I was 20 showed me where I didn't want to go.
Hmm.
And then I moved in and made other choices in my 30s and 40s, some of them good, some of them not good.
Hmm.
And all of it is information The trick is to pay attention to what doesn't work and your impact on the people around you and your impact on your own life. When people would come to me in counseling and they would try to blame it on everybody else, the hardest thing was to get them to realize is the common denominator in everything in your life, all these terrible friends and all these terrible situations, is you're in the middle of it.
You chose it.
You chose it. And if you think it's happening to you instead of through you, you're stuck. But once you get, I took a training, and the training was, it was back in the day, S training. And the lesson of the training was you created your reality. And that was, oh boy, oh shit. Yeah. Because if you don't like it, you got that you created it. But if you don't like it and you created it, then you know you can change it.
Yes.
And that's been the story of my life, is looking at what doesn't work and making better choices to what does work. And is everything perfect now? No, there's still issues that I'm still dealing with. Some of them I've been dealing with my whole life. It's like, when am I going to get over this one? But I'm still working at it.
Hey, that's a life learner in my book. That's a life learner that wants to say, I want to become my best authentic self.
Yes.
And so that's why I actually love calling you a mentor, because that is exactly what I do. Is, I don't know if you know, but I grew up in an orphanage.
No, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. In my life, there's been lots of traumas. A near death at 4. At 8, my parents got divorced, and the Catholic Church told my mother she could not raise 6 kids by herself.
Wow.
And they would help us. So I turned 8 in February. Mother's Day, I think it was like May 10th, I had my first Holy Communion. And June 7th, I found myself trying to chase down my mother in her car as she's accelerating as she dumped off kids at an orphanage. And wow. I was raised. So when I say it's not a life it's not a life sentence,
it's not.
Did I have rough times? Yes. I had 2 girls try to murder me when I was 15 at the orphanage.
Yeah.
A lot of traumas, a lot of pains. And then I ran away and lived on the streets for 1.5 years. And it was in the western part of the country out in Colorado, and it gets cold in the winter. And I survived. But the fact is I always used my life, my experiences in my life. Well, if my parents did it this way, if one went left, one went right, I'd go straight, because I knew that was the only way they didn't go. So it had to be the right way to go.
Right. Right.
So that's how I did my life. That's how I chose in my life. And it has led me down the right paths. It has led me down into the life of my life. And here I am, 62. And when I moved to Tennessee, they said I had to get post-certified to be in law enforcement up here. So at 60, I went through the police academy up here.
Wow.
12 weeks. I ran my butt off. I promise you, I ran against 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. And I wasn't the last one in the crowd. I wasn't the first, but I wasn't aiming for the first. I was aiming to do my best.
Yes. And
I graduated. And so most people are saying, well, you can't do that. Oh, you said the wrong words to me.
Yeah. That's not a phraseology that works for me. When I got divorced 30 years before I met my husband, 32 years ago, you can't keep the house and survive and do it on your own. Don't tell me can't. It's been good and bad in my life. Sometimes don't tell me can't has gotten me in trouble, but that was a better one.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying? But the thing is it gave you the option to choose, and having the power to choose.
Yes.
A lot of time it empowers you to develop that confidence, that value, that worth.
And there's something else you were talking about in terms of your childhood. When I was working as a therapist, all the trauma I went through in my childhood, and it was extensive. It's like people say, how did you manage to not end up in jail and in a lot of worse trouble than I got into? And some of it was luck. Spirit was watching out for me. But when I became a therapist, a lot of that really helped me help others because
Mhm.
I could work with little kids. I was one of the few people in town who worked with little ones. And I would work with the 4 and the 5-year-olds who were going through trauma, and they got that I got what they were going through.
Yes.
And it, I'm not dissing any other therapists, but when you've been there,
Mhm.
children get it. They
They
get
know
it. And when you
you can't
lie
bullshit
about
them.
it, children get it.
Right. You cannot bullshit about it. I just want
Mhm.
to put it out there. The reason is in my 40 years of law enforcement, 21 years of mine were dealing with 20 troubled youth
Yeah, so you know what
members.
I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So
gang
because we've
members.
been there.
Yeah, high school. I knew what it was like not to have somebody to support me. I knew what it was like to punt and make decisions and go, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but I did it, and I got to walk through it.
But when we could share our story too, there were kids who I could say, yeah, I know that happened to me. And I didn't tell everyone, but certain
Mhm.
ones. And it's like, wow, and you're a counselor?
Well, I
So this
never told
doesn't have to
anybody.
stop you. Well, I could
Yeah,
in therapy. It was,
yeah.
they tell you not to, you're not supposed to use sense of self, but I did because in the times it was important, I could see it shifted people's perspectives. It allowed them to see they didn't have to be defective, wounded people. They were people who went through something,
Right.
and there's another option. One of my complaints about the mental health field is that you focus on the diagnosis and the deficits, and where you need to focus is on the resilience. We are all resilient when we're given a chance. And many things that are titled mental illness are really coping skills,
Mhm.
trying to survive the insanity that people are living in.
I agree with that. The thing is I never told the kids because when you're dealing with gang members and
Oh,
you're
no, you can't do that. Yeah.
no, the
Different.
thing is I was the badass.
Mhm.
I was the woman that could take down a gang member because I was bench pressing 200 pounds just to,
Mhm.
stay fit and be able to do things. I was in my 40s. I was in my
Mhm.
40s and doing this. I mean, I chased down the quarterback of the football team
Mhm.
who was dealing drugs on the football field in the middle of ROTC class.
Yeah.
Chased him down, and then all the guys on the football team, "Can you come be on our football team? Man, you chased our quarterback down." Well, okay, no, I already graduated, but
Yeah.
the fact is that it was still I could make a connection with them.
But they still saw, even if you don't
Yes,
tell the story, they
yeah.
still
Well, they
saw.
knew
And there
that
were
I
times
don't
I didn't tell people, it was case specific.
right. At that time in my life, I think I had this fear that I would be judged, and then
Well,
I
in
would
some
lose.
cases you will be.
And
Yeah.
I didn't say it, but knew that it would also attack my credibility. And I didn't
Mhm.
want that to happen because
Right.
I had a credibility, what the kids call street credits.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to lose that because they wanted, but I've always said, um, I do what I do because I've been you. I've
Yeah.
walked in your shoes. I
Right,
know them.
right. That's how they know. Yeah.
Yes. So, but
Yeah.
with that, Bobbie, how can people get a hold of you if they want to go more deep in or get channeled by you or work with
Okay.
you further?
Um, I'm currently you can get to me through www.bobbieg.com. That's BOBBIEG.com.
Okay.
And I believe my phone number is on there. If you call on the phone, just leave a message because I've put my phone number out there because of the robocalls. Why not let other people? But you got to leave a message because
You
I'm
don't
not
answer 'em.
answering the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
And they're trying to sell me too many packages on my old car.
I have to, I laugh at this, Bobbie.
Yes.
My car, I had a head on car collision in 2006. We bought an SUV in 2006. It was a
Mhm.
2007. I still have that car. It has
Me
over
too.
300. I have
Me too.
315,000 miles on it.
And they're
So
trying to
this
sell
guy
me a
calls.
warranty.
Yeah. So I said to him, I answered the phone. He went through his phone. And I said, really? And he goes, yes, yes. And I said, I thought my warranty ended at 150,000. I said, I didn't know you had car warranties for 315,000 miles. Click.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know.
I mean, I was just being a little cranky, but it was just
Oh,
I get so sick of them. It's
I
just
could tell you a
crazy.
lot of the stories I've done with some of them. But anyway, they can reach me at www.bobbieg.com. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not really interacting with Facebook a lot right now. I put Michael Beckwith, I like his sayings, so I put them on my Facebook. And I'll have days where I go through it, but I'm not really doing that a whole lot right now. It's just pretty much um through my website. And yeah, and I think you can email me through my website too. I was going to adjust my prices a little bit lower, um, but I don't know how to. I haven't had the time to get in and figure out my stuff. So,
I
if you
get it.
do call and you've listened to this, just ask me for the discounted price. I'm doing them for 120 for the rest of summer at least.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I
Yeah,
want to say thank you. I have enjoyed our time together. I have missed you because
thank
my
you.
life has been going crazy, crazy. And as you know, as an author, when you're writing a book, it takes up quite a bit of time
Yes,
doing it.
yes.
So it's been interesting. So now I have 3 books published,
Hmm.
and I'm working on another one, and then there's one after that. And
I may be contacting you when it gets to the publishing because I published Gregory, but I'm curious how you did some stuff. So we'll talk a little later.
yeah,
I'm right now just writing and
right.
getting a group of books together because that's part of how you market your books.
Right, right. Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to. So hang on just one moment. Hang on.
Okay.
Let me finish this up. It takes a special kind of individual to dream their thoughts and ideas and then turn them into reality. Bobbie has done that. She stepped past her fears, stayed the course, and had the courage to follow through to the end. Bobbie, you've championed yourself. You know who you've become. Thank you for sharing your ideas, thoughts, and dreams with us today and the ways that you have accomplished so much in your life and helped so many. Again, I see you as a mentor. I thank you for your part in my evolution to be here today doing what I'm doing. Thank you.